Hello, I'm Alon Burstein, visiting assistant professor in the Department of Political Science and Israel Institute Fellow at the University of California, Irvine, here bringing you the summary of the last 24 hours of the Israel-Hamas war. It is currently the eve of November 19th, 2023 in the United States, the morning of November 20th, 2023 in the Middle East. Starting with the hostage situation, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, today released footage that they had captured from the Al-Shifa security cameras, in which they show that several hostages that were kidnapped on October 7th were brought to the hospital. The footage specifically relates to two different people. One of them is reported as a Nepalese citizen, one of them is a Thai citizen. One of them is shown that they are wheeled in, injured, and taken to one of the wards. The other is shown walking in on foot while handcuffed and taken to an unknown location. In addition, the IDF and Hamas, they are accusing each other regarding the circumstances of the death of Noa Marziano. So Noa Marziano is a 19-year-old Israeli soldier who was kidnapped on October 7th. Hamas later released a video of her in which she says that she has been held kidnapped for 4 days and that all of the hostages are in danger due to IDF bombings. Later, the IDF had recovered her body after she was killed outside of Shifa Hospital, and there has been continuous accusations between both sides. Hamas has said that she died as a result of the IDF bombardments. In turn, the IDF spokesperson today stated that, according to intelligence, Marziano was held in an apartment near the Al-Shifa hospital. Near that area, there was a contingent of bombings. Her captors were killed in the bombings. She was injured. However, according to pathology reports, she was not injured in any life-threatening way. She was then taken to Al-Shifa hospital, and there she was murdered. That is the accusations between both sides. Relating to the possibilities of a hostage exchange deal today, there was reported significant breakthroughs. The Qatari Prime Minister stated that both sides are very close to a deal, and what is left is working out small logistical things. And CNN reported cautious optimism among negotiators. The current deal relates to 4 to 5 days of pause in the fight, an initial release of 50 hostages. In Israel, there was reports that they have re-established communications with Yahya Sinwar, not Israel, that Qatar has re-established communications with the leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, and that negotiations are underway. According to reports in Israel, the deal is going to include the initial release of 50 hostages. This presumably includes women, children, families, and elderly. The upwards of 5-day pause in the fighting, and that Israel will release 150 Palestinian women and children that are held in Israeli jails. In addition, there's reports that a substantial amount of fuel will be allowed to enter into the Gaza Strip. Relating to speculation regarding what might still develop, Hamas has stated that it does not know where all the children and mothers are being held, and that some of them might be held by the Palestinian Islamic Jihad as well, and that the group is willing to use the first days of the pause in order to round them up if Israel refrains from any aerial activity in the area. Israel, in turn, is reporting that if Hamas would release an additional 20 to 25 people, in addition to the 50, that will allow the release of all mothers and children, siblings and older women, in other words, to not tear apart families. Hamas has in principle expressed willingness to increase the releases in exchange for more days of pause. Apparently, this is supposed to be worked out as the days of pause occur, depending on if Hamas can locate all of the hostages. According to the Egyptian Arad news agency, Hamas officials already stated that the pause for this exchange is supposed to start tomorrow at 11 a.m. Israel denied this and said that while we're close to a deal, it has not actually been decided upon yet. Moving on to the ongoing fighting in the Gaza Strip, there were continuous rockets today launched from the Gaza Strip primarily towards the southern parts of Israel. Rockets targeted the areas surrounding the Gaza Strip, Netiv Asara, Kisufim, and there were specific barrages towards Ashkelon and Zikim. In addition, it was reported today that the IDF and the Shabak, that's the equivalent of the FBI in Israel, have arrested over 100 Hamas activists in the Gaza Strip, taking them back to Israel for questioning, and that these specifically included many Nukhba fighters, that is Hamas commando units, and 3 of them who specifically took part in the attack on October 7th. In addition, relating to the Al-Shifa hospital, the IDF is continuing to uncover infrastructure that Hamas has been using in the hospital. They specifically located tunnel shafts that lead 10 meters underground and that the IDF is currently exploring. In the heart ward of the hospital and the physiotherapy ward, there were rooms found containing explosives and different weapons caches, and a command center of Hamas. The reports are that the tunnel that was identified leads down to a substantial array of different tunnels, that all of them end up leading to a very, very fortified concrete door that the IDF is currently working on detonating, and it is believed that one of Hamas's main headquarters are located behind this door. In addition, relating to the hospital, there are reports that there are still 300 people, specifically patients and medical staff, remaining in the hospital. However, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry, all preemie babies have been evacuated to hospitals down south. In other news, there was substantial fighting reported today around the Indonesian hospital in the northern Gaza Strip, and more broadly, the IDF has continued to expand its activity that I reported upon yesterday to other areas. There were specific intensive fightings reported in the prestigious El Rimal neighborhood in Gaza City, and there were also reports that the IDF Navy has substantially expanded its activity as well, and specifically the IDF spokesperson stated that they have attacked the shores of Gaza against Hamas targets with thousands of bombs in the last 24 hours. Regarding casualties, 5 IDF soldiers are reported to have been killed in the battles in the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. The Palestinian Health Ministry is reporting upwards of 13,000 Palestinians that have been killed since the war began and more than 30,000 wounded. However, as I stated yesterday, the reports coming in from the Palestinian Health Ministry are not being channeled through the usual channels. Usually they are channeled through UNRWA and the UN, possibly due to breakdowns in communications arrays. Right now, those reports are out there, but the United Nations and the official statements regarding the number of deaths have not been updated in over a week. Moving on to the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip, Israel's expanded cabinet today officially approved the entrance of 60,000 liters of fuel every day into the Gaza Strip to allow the different facilities of UNRWA to keep working in some sort of limited capacity. In addition, there are growing reports of complete overloads of the hospitals in the southern parts of the Gaza Strip. So in addition to all of the wounded from the different fighting in the southern parts of the Gaza Strip, those hospitals have now taken in all of the refugees and all of the people who have been evacuated from the hospitals in the northern parts of the Strip, and there are reports that these hospitals are coming close towards crashing. But relating to this, France today announced that it is going to send 10 tons of medical equipment and supplies to the Gaza Strip next week. It is specifically also going to send 2 mobile units that can each treat 500 people who are badly or critically injured, and that a helicopter carrier that is going to offer support to hospitals is also arriving on the shores of Egypt, and that France is going to look to evacuate at least 50 children who are in hospitals back to France for medical treatment. According to the Egyptian Red Crescent, 790 Palestinians who are either foreign citizens or have dual citizenship were able to evacuate from Egypt today. And relating to humanitarian aid trucks, 69 trucks carrying food, water, and medical supplies are reported to have passed in the last 24 hours. There was also a later report, after a report yesterday that no trucks passed, there was a later report that yesterday 30 trucks did manage to enter the Gaza Strip later in the night. Moving on to the West Bank, there was a Palestinian attack today against settlers in a drive-by shooting near the Azavia area. No people were reported injured in this attack. In addition, there was reported substantial IDF activity in the towns of Jenin and the Balata refugee camp near Nablus. According to the IDF, they uncovered weapons labs and weapons caches. Several Palestinians were reported injured in different confrontations, both in Jenin and in Balata refugee camp. A total of 38 Palestinians were arrested in the last 24 hours in the West Bank. This brings the total number of Palestinians that were arrested in the West Bank since the war began to 1,800. Of these, 1,100 are reported to be Hamas activists. Moving on to the north of Israel, southern parts of Lebanon, there was substantial Hezbollah activity today. These included drone attacks and barrages of RPG that were coordinated simultaneously. There were attacks in the western Galilee against IDF outposts, specifically Dvoranit, Adamit, and Hanita. And there was also a drone that the Hezbollah sent that was intercepted near the Dalton area. In addition, there were also rockets that targeted the Margaliot and Kibbutz Kfar Giladi in the upper Galilee area towards Tel Hai, and substantial barrages against Shlomi as well. The IDF retaliated against a range of Hezbollah targets throughout the day, including military compounds, outposts, and infrastructure. Relating to the Hezbollah attacks, Israeli Defense Minister today, Yoav Gallant, stated that since the war began, Hezbollah has sent over 1,000 rockets and missiles into Israel. This is the first time that Israel is reporting the exact amount, or at least alluding to the amount of rockets that Hezbollah has sent since the war began. Moving to the regional developments, there was substantial escalations today. Houthi rebels operating out of Yemen took over a cargo ship, the Galaxy Leader. On board, there were 22 to 25 people, although according to a report in El Biad, there were 52 people. And according to reports, they took over this ship because they believe that it belongs to Israel. This is a cargo ship, was in the Red Sea. The reports are there are no Israelis on board, and that the ship belongs to a company that is partly owned by an Israeli. A member of the Houthi political leadership, Hazem al-Assad, tweeted after the ship was hijacked in Hebrew, stating, and I quote, "As long as they insist on their aggression against our people in Gaza, they will have to take the Cape route," meaning that Israeli cargo ships, or ships in general, will have to go all the way around Africa instead of going through the Red Sea in order to get to the Indian Ocean. A spokesperson for the Houthi military, Yahya Saria, today stated that following a military operation in the Red Sea, the ship was taken to the shores of Yemen, and he added, I'm quoting, "We warn all ships that belong to the Israeli enemy or work with it. They are a legitimate target for the Houthi military," and he added that the kidnapped crew are being treated according to the values of Islam. According to the different reports, the ship was hijacked in the Red Sea between Saudi Arabia and Sudan off the shores of Jeddah. Relating to this, there was condemnations across the board, and Israel specifically stated that it is recognizing that Iran is increasing its pressure on different militias in order to escalate the region, and this is a clear example of that. Moving on to the political developments and general trends that occurred, the Palestinian Authority today published a statement in its main news sites, diplomatic missions, and sent it to the UN, in which it stated that Hamas did not actually carry out the slaughter in the Re'im party that occurred. So, on October 7th, there was a very, very big nature party that Hamas attacked. Upwards of 360 teenagers, Israeli teenagers, were killed, and a lot of people were kidnapped from there. Palestinian Authority today stated that it was in fact Israel's retaliation that killed all the people in that party. Palestinian Authority is referencing a report that came out in Israel that indicated that it is possible that some attack helicopters that were trying to rescue some of the people who were being kidnapped may have inadvertently fired on some of the hostages and killed them as well. The Palestinian Authority statement specifically mentions this and mentions what's known as Israeli Protocol Hannibal, which is a protocol where the IDF has permission to shoot at people as they are being kidnapped in order to try to rescue them, even at the risk of endangering them as well. The Palestinian Authority statements also echoes a statement that Hamas put out that also said that Hamas did not kill anyone in Re'im, and in fact this was all Israel's retaliations that killed all the teenagers there. Officials in Israel stated that the Palestinian Authority statement is diplomatically damaging to Israel, since the Palestinian Authority is seen as a more legitimate source other than Hamas, and that this is going to damage Israel in the international arena. This was met obviously with extreme condemnations in Israel. Prime Minister Netanyahu used this as another way in order to again state, the day after we destroy Hamas, we will not allow civilian government in Gaza to be handed over to those who deny the fact that terrorism exists, support terrorism, pay terrorists, and educate kids for terror and destroying the state of Israel. So he's specifically relating to this, used this as another way to say that Israel is not going to hand over control to the Palestinian Authority. Joining his condemnation, the leader of the opposition in Israel, Yair Lapid, who had previously called to reinstate the Palestinian Authority to the Gaza Strip, also issued very, very substantial condemnations. Hours after this, and shortly before I recorded this, the Palestinian Authority Foreign Ministry deleted the message that they had put out and added that the publication had not been approved by Palestinian Authority Chairman Mahmoud Abbas. In addition, bolstering Netanyahu's statements in the last couple of days when he has stated that the reason that Israel has allowed fuel in is because of monumental pressure from the United States, that Israel needs this diplomatic protection from the United States. Today, Israeli Foreign Minister Eli Cohen stated that 54 different delegates have visited Israel since October 7th, and that this is part of the reason that Israel can run its war successfully. And Israeli President Herzog also added, and I'm quoting, Israel's defense program is linked to its diplomatic credit. In other news, the EU foreign minister today called to implement the UN Security Council resolution that called for immediate humanitarian pauses and the unconditional release of all hostages. He added, and I quote, UN Security Council resolutions are not just words, they must be implemented. Relating to speculations of the future of the Gaza Strip, there were reports today, leaks from Israel's expanded cabinet, responding to the fact that Ministers Gantz and Eisenkot, who are both former chiefs of staff and part of the war cabinet, they were appearing in the general cabinet as well, stated that freeing hostages is top priority. But Mr. Bezalel Smotrich, who's a minister of finance and one of the more hawkish figures in Israel, stated, and I'm quoting, that is not what we decided, that is not the top priority. Top priority is defeating Hamas. When the Prime Minister Netanyahu and Minister Gantz stated later that the two decisions that Israel has taken is that Hamas will not control the Gaza Strip in the future and that Israel will not be in the Strip, Smotrich responded, I'm quoting, "There was never a decision taken that we will not be in Gaza the day after. I want that to be clear." So Smotrich belongs to the religious Zionism party, members of which have called that Israel should retake the Gaza Strip, possibly expel Palestinians, and reestablish Jewish settlements. So responding to Prime Minister Netanyahu and Minister Gantz, both stating that Israel will not be in the Gaza Strip in the future, Smotrich is saying this decision was never taken. We decided to destroy Hamas, but there was never a decision that Israel will not stay in the Gaza Strip after that. That is my report for the last 24 hours. I'll be back tomorrow.